Hello, and welcome to Under 1000. My name's Thomas Flower, and each episode I'll read you a piece of flash fiction. All of the stories are 1,000 words or less. Today, I'll be reading A Wonderful Life After All. Just a quick programming note, this is going to be the last episode of 2019. I'll be taking a break for a couple of weeks and coming back sometime early in January. I hope that whoever's listening out there has a lovely holiday, and I'm looking forward to coming back with more short fiction for you in the new year. Please be aware that this episode contains strong language, sexual content, and references to genitalia. It also deals with themes of homophobia and transphobia, so if that's likely to upset you or anyone that you're listening with, then you might want to skip this one. What a year. Thank fuck it's almost over. It wasn't okay, but at least they were together. I don't suppose there's any way to walk this back particularly, is there? Theo asked. Gary looked at him, almost bursting out laughing. The mood was entirely wrong for the situation, but what other response could there be? When someone says to you that they want their beautiful sweet daughter back rather than shacked up with a cheap lousy faggot, then I think that bridge is pretty solidly burned. Theo frowned, appalled at first by Gary's flippant response in the face of his pain. But laughter was all they had to warm them now, and slowly Theo joined in with it. There was something comforting, joyous, after all, about seeing the worst those you loved could show you, and refusing to engage with it seriously. They might have been kicked out, but at least now they were free. What are we going to do for Christmas? It was such a minor question, and yet it struck Gary as the most important one in the world right now for some strange reason. Without the comforting familiarity of tradition, which Theo's family had built in strange and intricate ways down the generations, he was unsure how his boyfriend would make it through the holiday period with his heart intact. He scrabbled in his mind to conjure new festive traditions they could construct on next to no money from a cheap hotel room. There's the park, always beautiful when it snows, and some of the takeaway places stay open on Christmas Day. I know it's not quite what you want, but maybe we can make something wonderful out of burgers and Chinese food. Theo paused, pondering for a second. His whole conception of this time of year was so bound up in the complex, ritualistic myth-making his family had done that it seemed strange to suddenly be without it. If they didn't have to do things the way they should be done, then how else might they do them? Staring into the unknown made him feel fearful, but also excited. He and Gary would be able to build their own traditions after all, keeping what they wanted and discarding the rest wholesale in favour of whatever pleased them. It was a daunting prospect, given that it wasn't backed up by the importance that time somehow bestowed on arbitrary choices, but it was exciting to finally be the ones getting to make those choices. Well, he said finally, still laughing from the sheer strangeness of it all, I think burgers and fried rice with you would be nice. Maybe I'll tie a little tinsel round your cock and we can call it a tree. Only if you promise to play with the presents underneath, Gary shot back with a wink. Suddenly, things didn't seem so bleak anymore. They still had almost nothing, but they had a plan. A way to get through this all with ridicule and silliness, which was somehow also the deepest reflection of their love for one another. In time, they'd need to figure out what to do next, but that could come after. When the day came, it was grim and gorgeous, all at once. Theo awoke with tears in his eyes, unsure why for a moment. He realized that something was missing. The smell of breakfast cooking downstairs, the sound of his younger sister excitedly ripping open presents, the feeling of familial warmth which flowed through the air as abundantly as oxygen. He wondered if his family was also feeling something missing without him there. After coming to, Shaking off the melancholy which lay over him, he noticed that Gary was also absent. In his place were a few small gifts, stacked neatly on the side of the bed. A card lay on top, reading, "Open me," in bold, demanding writing. Theo hesitated, confused, before complying. "My darling love," the letter inside read, written in typical flamboyant fashion. "I know you wanted Santa to finally bring you a regular supply of tea this year, but unfortunately he was all out. The greedy fucker's been using it all to keep growing his own beard, I reckon. Anyway, we'll talk to the doctors soon enough and try to get you your heart's desire before your birthday. In the meantime, here are a few tokens of my love for you. It's really not much, but I hope they serve as some small way of showing that I care about you, and that I'm going to stick with you through this all. Yours now and forever, Gary. P.S. I'm out just now seeing what I can score on a day when half the shops are shut. We'll be back soon with the fruits of my labour for breakfast. See you soon." Theo was tearing up once again. This time not for what was missing, but for what he felt so lucky to have. Somehow, right there, he knew everything was going to be okay. There was no way to tell, of course, but he could sense the life that Gary and he would build together stretching out far into the distance from this moment. He could see the silly traditions and idiosyncratic rituals they would make, born out of the wonderful way they managed to stick together when life threw its worst at them. And he knew, somehow he just knew, that it would all work out all right. It would be okay, because at least they were together. Thank you for listening to Under 1000. I'm your host, Thomas Flower. To follow the show online, look for Under 1000 Pod on Twitter or Facebook. If you'd like to support the show on Patreon, go to patreon.com/under1000pod, where you can sign up to read each month's stories in advance, as well as to have a thank you be read during these credits. The theme music is an instrumental version of In Between Days by Nick Tate and the Sharks. To hear the full song and more from the same EP, go to Nick Tate, NICTATE, and thesharks.bandcamp.com, or search for them on your favourite streaming platform. I hope you enjoyed this episode, and that you'll join me in the next decade for some more super short fiction.